It's August 27th, 2013. You're listening to MakingStarWars.net. Now, this is podcasting. I'm one of your hosts, Randy Lo Gudice, joined by Jason Ward.
Hello.
And Keith Koth.
How you guys doing?
Let's see here. Let's first off, before we actually get into the show, just a couple things we want to kind of touch on. Want to thank our Tumblr community. We've reached 5,000 followers. Pretty epic, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. You guys are the best.
Yeah, thank you, Tumblr followers. Also, we're doing a little bit of house cleaning. We've kind of hopefully addressed the echo that we had on the previous two podcasts. We are literally talking into a box.
It looks like the box from Pee-wee's Playhouse without zombies in.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Hopefully we'll get some better digs.
And if you don't know who Zombie is, then go look it up. It's called Google.
And then listen to our Pee Wee Herman podcast.
Our Pee Wee Herman podcast where Keith plays Zombie.
All right, let's get started. The first news we're going to have is from our friends over at Jedi News. This is a little bit of news that broke. If you were hoping to see the remaining episodes of the Clone Wars, you might actually be in luck. And the news story goes, a Disney-branded app for Star Wars will launch on Apple TV devices with plans to distribute the final Clone Wars episodes exclusively digitally only through the Apple TV device for a limited period of time. This will happen in the holiday season. In 2014, plans are in early stage to use the platform to deliver Star Wars 7 production news live from the set, followed with Star Wars Rebels in late 2014, taking all the way through Star Wars 7 release. Obviously, this is really cool for fans of the Clone Wars, people looking forward to the upcoming movie, but this is a really cool way as a distribution method through Apple TV. Let's kind of just start talking about the Star Wars specific stuff and then get into a little bit more broad discussion about it.
Yeah, well, I think that the coolest part about it is that, number one, we're finally going to get some new Clone Wars. From the sound of it, if this is true, or I shouldn't say if it's true, if it's accurate, in 2013. And as we learned from D23, a lot of these episodes might not be totally complete. So on one hand, I was a little bit apprehensive, like, do you charge someone the same price for an unfinished episode with like recycled bits, or that's animatics or just audio? Do you charge them the same price on iTunes that you would for a full episode of the Clone Wars? And my instinct is no, you don't, but you never know. And so I got a feeling that with this app, I'm assuming going to be a subscription-based thing, if accurate.
Yeah, I don't know. A subscription-based as far as a subscription to Apple TV, a separate subscription or a subscription to a Star Wars proprietary service.
Right. Like I believe that they have like a Disney XD app that just came out.
Okay.
And so I think it might work similar to that. I assume that they're not giving you Disney XD for free on Apple TV. I assume like you have to pay something for it. And this is something I haven't got a chance to research because this news just broke before I got over here. But anyways, to get back to the Clone Wars, it seems to me like this would allow them to distribute episodes that aren't necessarily as complete, or that have, I don't want to say problems, but maybe like things weren't finished.
Well, I would think if they were going with this distribution method that they might even be incentivized to actually finish some of the episodes. Isn't that really possible? What do you think, Keith?
I find it... I don't think they would finish it, in all honesty. I think that the sell of this is that it is incomplete. The sell of this is that they can go out there with incomplete episodes and say, look what you're going to get. And they know people are going to pay for it. So why invest all that money and all that time when you already have a willing audience that's already set? This isn't going to be a brand new audience, right? This isn't going to be people who want to discover the Clone Wars and they want to see what it's about and what's up with it. This is the base that they're going after. So why put all this work in there when they don't really have to? So I wouldn't expect, I would hope, but I would not expect to see fully animated, complete episodes that they have not already done.
And I think when it first launches, I think we're going to get I'm just guessing, I'm making an arbitrary number here, but I'm going to guess that we're going to get like the first 12 completed episodes, like the equivalent of like 3 Clone Wars movies. And then I think we'll start to get into the stuff where it's a little less finished. And to go back to when Keith talked to Pablo at the D23 presentation, he said there was a lot more than we knew about, right? So essentially that leaves a big space open for a lot of things that we didn't think were coming. And I think that is I think we're going to get those things because of this service if it links up to this rumor.
Yeah, I think it would make a little bit. If they aren't going to complete unfinished episodes, then they're probably going to start off on a good foot and give us the most complete stuff. And then slowly, as seeing all the other stuff will kind of get trickled out. What do you guys think specifically about the Star Wars 7 promotion stuff that will happen with the Apple TV?
Yeah, that's the most exciting part right there. I was a little bit confused by it on one hand because they mentioned actual live broadcast and from the set. So, like, are they going to, is it going to be like 4 a.m. over there for them when they're doing it for United States audiences and stuff like that? With globalization, it's kind of hard. Like, how do you time those things?
Yeah.
Like a normal day on the set for them, I would assume, like, because they're union workers and things like that, they won't be working at like 2 a.m. and stuff. So I'm going to assume that's going to be like Lucasfilm's crew itself are going to be the ones who would put this kind of production on.
Right.
And so I just wonder how rehearsed it's going to be if it does go that way. Like, like when they at Disneyland, like you'll walk by sometimes and there will be like those Disney Channel crews that are there and like they're filming segments and they pretend like they're like live on the spot, but it's very, very rehearsed.
Right.
I'm wondering if it's going to be kind of cute like that, or if it's actually going to be like a real insightful look at episode 7. But being a guy who was into the hyperspace service and stuck to that webcam all day, and like hoping that like a Chewbacca might show up or something. I'm hoping that it has that kind of feel though. I hope that there is sort of like they bring back the webcam, for instance. Like this app is like a good way to bring the webcam back. You know what I mean? Like you could like literally like go on there and like watch live streaming of what they have going on. And obviously we're going to see things like back then. I don't know how closely you watched it when we had it back then, but there was like Script Girl. Like everybody who would play with the webcam got these like colorful names that people on message board came up with. I think we just lost Keith. And the like Mousy McCollum, which is Rick McCollum's daughter, was like some kind of production assistant on the show. And she would come up and she would just had stuff in her hands. It was like probably just like work documents, not the script. Everyone's all like, she has the script. Yeah. But anyways, during the really, really dry spells of episode 3, that like got us through them. It gave us something to talk about and there was something going on. And, some people got frustrated and just dropped out. But the diehards like me, we were there and we're like, okay.
Yeah, there's like any morsel of information.
Right.
Just like, yeah. I mean, I would imagine it would be more the other way around where it's going to be very controlled environment and they're going to have kind of like little planned things they want to show. They're going to talk to like, a set designer or a costume designer and give you like these small presentations. I don't think it's going to be like a real candid look into, especially as close as they play so many things to the chest.
Right.
I don't see them just like giving you a feed and then just letting you like possibly like stumble upon something.
Right. Well, and like I said, I don't remember what I don't know what you know of the webcam from back then.
Very little.
Yeah, it was like literally like it was a camera pointed out like a wall. And sometimes like Nick Gillard, like the sword guy, would come up there and just like point at it, and it was mostly not very fruitful, to be honest with you. But there was a couple of days where we did see like important stuff, and there was a couple of days like where it was pointed like towards where they were actually filming scenes that were cut from the movie in the end, which even made it more like worthless, to be honest.
So basically, like they just told the crew like, hey, just so you guys know, we have a camera over here in the corner. If you want to do something funny, go for it. Have a good time.
One day a guy came with bagels and was but and so
I didn't get that scene in episode 3. Where the guy comes with bagels.
No, I just remember being like, it's Princess Leia's hair bun. She's in the movie. But no, but the whole there's a lot of opportunity for something like that. I think to actually be better than what hyperspace was. And I think that after hyperspace, StarWars.com's direction for a while was like, Lucas would say things like he wanted to take StarWars.com into like a TV station kind of idea. Like he wanted to go in that direction. And I think you could say it did, but at the same time it didn't. Like we got Clone Wars episodes, but the content just kind of wasn't there. Like they did their documentaries, but this wasn't during a film time. Films were done. We had Clone Wars, we had the behind the scenes things. So we got little things, but it wasn't quite like the TV station idea. And I don't think Lucas is behind this stuff anymore. But I think that it's almost like fulfilling that kind of idea more where they were wanting to take StarWars.com quite a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, Disney's been doing this for a while with some of their other franchises. It's not so much that I would imagine it being like a channel, more like a platform, a platform for a bunch of media to kind of come through. And then if they made it a subscription model of that, and part of the incentive of having the like internet-based one is you would also get a subscription to Apple TV, and then you would get that. I could see that being very likely.
Right. And then I guess what we kind of come to eventually is, okay, let's kind of think of surveys of us three, because I actually don't know the answer to this. Do you guys have Apple TV?
Keith?
I do not.
Randy, do not.
Jason, do.
Show off.
I do. But to be honest, I haven't actually used it since the Clone Wars Season 5 ended. I got my Apple TV because I bought Clone Wars Season 5, and I was like, okay, I want to, on iTunes, and I wanted a way of watching it in 1080p and everything. So I bought an Apple TV, and then I got a Roku shortly thereafter, and the Roku kind of suited my needs better.
He won't stop talking about it.
I love the Roku.
He loves the Roku.
I do.
Roku this, Roku that.
I want a Roku channel even. It's the best. But point being is that like I kind of feel bad for those who have already invested, for instance, like in Android products and things like that. Like, and you know, is this like the smartest way to go? Is kind of the question that I have. Like, is this excluding most people, or is the Apple market and base so big that who it's inclusive to makes up for it?
Well, see, this is...
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sure. This is a very interesting point, and we can actually look at the Star Wars Blu-ray DVDs for actually guidance on this, right? If you remember, before the Blu-rays came out, there was an exclusive iOS app for the Blu-rays that allowed an exclusive peek into what the content was going to be.
Right.
I was kicking myself at the time because I only had an iPhone, didn't have the luxury of having that iPad to really view everything that they had, you know, in that wonderful, you know, in a much bigger screen size. But I think that the precedence is there. I think that this is a cheap enough device that they could sell it on this product. Again, we do have what is most likely the Apple announcement of the iPhone 5S on September 10th.
Okay.
And this would be an excellent time to really take this, what Apple calls a hobby device, and really ramp it up. It's something new. It's something different. Apple in itself has been kind of bland lately. No new products, no big announcements. So if they were able to integrate Star Wars and really use that Steve Jobs connection to Disney and really kind of infuse this, I think Apple would be completely on board. And I think that overall, I don't think fans would be that angry about having to get this Apple TV, because on the other end of it is content that we have been waiting for such a long time. On the flip side, I, as a collector, I really actually want this in you know, I want a hard disk of this. I really don't want this material to be trapped on my Apple TV's hard drive. I was the type of person who was angry when they changed the format of the Clone Wars season from, you know, the book in seasons 1 and 2 to those, you know, without the concept art in seasons 3, 4, and 5. So I really hope that they allow people without Apple TV, even down the line in the future, to purchase this in a material form, because I think it's only appropriate.
Well, can I speculate for 1 sec?
No.
Okay, I'm going to anyway. Because you know, I love to speculate, and I can't stop. Is that with these Clone Wars episodes, there's always been the episode edit, then there's been the film edit, and then there's been some kind of director's cut. That could either be a film director's cut or an episode director's cut. I kind of got a feeling that we're going to get these episodes probably as episodes on the service, and I'm hoping that they offer us the film versions to buy on iTunes, like as standalone films, like they did with the Night Sisters trilogy a few months ago, or it's been a little longer than that now, but yeah. And I think that there are going to be various cuts of these things, but at the same time, I don't think we're going to have an opportunity to have a Clone Wars release. Because think about it right now. What do we have coming this October? We have the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, released on Blu-ray as single sets again, with new cases and stuff. And that's, you know, to get people who didn't buy last time into it for the episode 7 ramp up. Then we have the Clone Wars season 5 box set. Then we have the Clone Wars complete box set of the aired seasons. That's all in October of 2013. Then when we get to 2014, we have Star Wars Rebels the movie airing in the summer. So I'm assuming that we're going to get that movie that's going to be airing in the summer on Blu-ray for 2014 as well. Then what's 2015? 2015's we're going to have Rebels season 1 on Blu-ray, and then we're going to have episode 7 on Blu-ray coming that October. And so I don't know if there's going to be a real opportunity to follow the current release methods that Lucasfilm has been using, where October is kind of when stuff comes out. I think that this digital distribution is going to be it. That's my guess.
I mean, yeah, I can see what you're saying, but I mean, from the way I look at it, this is a great opportunity to incentivize people to buy Apple TVs, but I think it's really making it way too exclusive for people who are just fans of Star Wars.
Right.
Especially, there's no confirmation of it running on iPhone or iPad or any other, and plenty of people have those devices. I don't see why, other than to incentivize people to buy an Apple TV, why you would make it exclusive to that device.
Right.
So, I mean, eventually I believe, like you're saying, that they will redistribute them into maybe another edit or something, but right now I think you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, and I don't want to say it's kind of a jerk move, but you're just limiting the audience that can enjoy this stuff by having on Apple TV a device that has in no stretch of the imagination ever got off the ground.
No,
if I didn't have it, I would probably be annoyed right now.
Yeah.
Our contributor to MakingStarWars.net, Jonna Murray, she was just like, no way am I dropping $100 on this, but she follows everything with Star Wars. Like, she's not happy about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I had to like kind of put myself in her shoes and go, yeah, if this was an Android product, I'd be really annoyed right now.
Yeah.
And I think if it's not on the iPad, then we know for sure it's just about selling Apple TVs.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. But I kind of like wonder like what would what's Lucasfilm's incentive to like sell Apple TVs at the same time? Like, is it that they're just taking care of all the back end, promotion and everything for it? And
I mean, it could. I mean, if you were gonna go with any of the TV devices to work with, I mean, this would be the best partnership, and maybe they're just trying to test out other avenues and using something that otherwise would have got dropped in the bin, and using this as kind of the way to kind of test those avenues without really having any major commitment.
Right.
So I mean, that's possible. From that sense, I mean, it's smart on their part to test the avenue and see if there is an appeal that they can further build on. But again, for the fan side, I think you kind of get the short stick.
So then I have to think, promotion is promotion. Promotion's about promoting episode 7. It's about promoting these TV shows. And so you can't really just sell your promotion and then go, we didn't promote the film because we sold all the promotion. So I have to say that I think that that's almost an indication that these things will be on StarWars.com fairly quickly after they're exclusively on Apple TV for a week or two or a month at the most.
Yeah, there'll probably be some kind of exclusivity rights where they have the material on lock for maybe a month or two, and then there's a contract where they can distribute it and be free to do with as they please.
And it makes me wonder, do you guys remember back when Attack of the Clones trailer came out and you had to have a QuickTime Pro?
Yeah.
Was it Pro? Is that what it's called?
Right.
And if you didn't have it, you couldn't save the trailer, and I don't think you could watch it in full screen. I could be wrong about that, but I remember not being able to watch it in full screen until I had Pro.
Right.
And so it proves the point that, number one, I'm an idiot, and I will pay for it. I will pay for things to be able to view things like that. And so I almost have to speculate, what if, is the episode 7 teaser going to show up on Apple TV first? Is that going to be the thing that sells Apple TV? Because the episode 1 trailer is what made Apple trailers into Apple trailers,
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying that this can't sell Apple TVs. In fact, I think it can.
Yeah.
It's just a messed up way, I think, for fans, to do business with fans. It can very much, if they say you're only going to be able to view the trailer right now if you have an Apple TV, I'm going to go buy an Apple TV.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe they're hoping that a lot of people are going to go the same way.
Yeah.
Keith, do you have anything else you wanted to add to this?
No, I think the real question, which Jason brought up and you did as well, Randy, is the idea of, what does Lucasfilm Disney what have you, Star Wars make out of selling Apple TVs? What connection is there? And I think that's the real question. I mean, perhaps Apple goes ahead and pays a good amount of money to have this exclusive content for a while, like you guys said, for a week or two, or maybe even a month. But I still think it's inevitable that it's going to end up on different mediums. And I knowing Lucasfilm and their marketing department, I still believe that at the end of the day, they will have a $150 box set with an art book or something in there with these actually, available to buy in store, just online exclusives, or maybe an Amazon exclusive even.
I hope so. I mean, I want it. I don't see that. I don't see a time frame to do it in. That's my whole thing. That's my fear, I should say. And I'm being a pessimist, but I hope it happens, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, we have to consider to a certain degree that it is Disney now, so it's possible that things could change, and they might not mind, for lack of a better way of putting it, oversaturating and putting things on top of other things, distributing them, releasing them at the same time.
Right.
And Disney's no stranger to having partnerships with people, and then a lot of this might come from that.
Mm-hmm. But Rebels is coming out. Once we hit 2014, it's going to be all about promoting Rebels and everything Rebels. Before Episode 7, even it really starts to get really on fire. It's going to be about that show, and I just think there's going to be a lot of brand confusion, or the fear of brand confusion for that matter. And I think they're going to put the Clone Wars behind them after this content's out, and everybody from the Clone Wars has moved on to Rebels, and I just think it's the past now, and everybody's going to move on. I'm going to miss that show, and I'm going to be sad that they didn't get to do more with it.
Right.
But I just being a realist, I kind of think it's over for now.
Fair enough. All right, guys and gals, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with a little bit more.
Fear attracts the fearful, the strong, the weak, the innocent, the corrupt. Fear is my ally.
All right, thank you for sticking with us. We're going to move into a little bit of rumor and speculation talk here. On the last episode, we talked a little bit about the Force Ghosts and everything. We're going to kind of go into kind of looking at it a little bit closer. Jason, you kind of want to start us off with this and kind of frame what we're going to be talking about here.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of get on the topic of Latino Review and their scoops over the last, since February 15th. And I have been told that everything that they have reported, all of their scoops, have not actually been accurate, that they aren't really on the money. And I don't know to what extent. I can't tell you why I know or how I know. I'm just asking you guys to trust this one, that we know that it is not on the money.
We can confirm there is nothing to confirm.
Yes, that is confirmed.
Let's go over the things that we can't confirm.
Sounds good.
The February 15th report, Harrison Ford has been cast as Han Solo in Star Wars Episode 7. This isn't to say Harrison Ford will not be played by... will not play Han Solo. It's just to say that it has not been confirmed. Jonathan Rhys Meyers has been cast in Star Wars Episode 7. Zac Efron and Ryan Gosling have been cast in Star Wars Episode 7. Obi-Wan Kenobi is back and played by Ewan McGregor again in Star Wars Episode 7. Darth Sidious is returning as a ghost and played by Ian McDiarmid in Star Wars Episode 7. Star Wars Episode 7 production will begin on January 21st, 2014.
And so, yeah, with that, all we don't know the exact specifics. I can't tell you what is wrong or why it's wrong. Like I said, we just know it isn't. And I hate to shut down all of the fun and the speculation on that front, but it is time to close that frontier for now, because it's not somewhere we should be spending our time. It's not accurate. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fun to speculate, but I think this time it's safe to say you can put these ideas to rest. Keith, tell us how sad you are right now.
There are not enough metachlorines in my body to help me cope with this news.
Yeah,
That's honest sadness. I believe him. I don't know why, B. This is a quote from Ian McDiarmid. I understand the working on the script. There's been all sorts of rumors, no conversations have been had, and no deals have been struck. And anyways, I'm dead, but I could be resurrected. Yes, I've heard of ghosts. I've heard of the clones. There's all sorts of possibilities, but until I get the phone call like the one I had before, I won't believe I'm in it. So, I mean, even he's kind of...
Yeah, he's saying, it sounds to me like he's not in it because if he was, he would be playing coy or saying, I can't talk about it.
He'd be doing the PR speak. He'd be kind of like being cagey about answers. I would love to work on it, but I have not been...
Exactly, and at the same convention at the Fan Expo, Carrie Fisher said she's not talking about it anymore because she's got in trouble too many times.
Right.
Well, you can only get in trouble if you're actually a part of something. There's no one to get you in trouble if you're not a part of it. He can't even get in trouble because he's not a part of it right now. Or he's not at all. I don't know. We don't know. No one does.
And to be fair, I mean, Latino Review did break probably the biggest geek story this week with
the year maybe right now
with Ben Affleck being Batman.
Yeah, and they reported it 6 months ago, and then they reported it that it was going to break in the next month, and it came out within that week. So that's nothing against them. We're just saying what we've been informed of. Yes. And we're just doing our best to let you guys know that that's what we have heard, and it's not something that we can actually talk about. We just got to kind of put the kibosh on it for now. But
save your forum posts.
Save your forum post. Save your speculation. Put it in other creative places.
Write a book.
Write fan fiction.
Paint. I mean, have you ever really considered like making a real honest go of just jogging?
Have you considered piano lessons?
Piano lessons. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that we're basically saying use your energy in other places because this is a waste of your time.
Yeah, you'll end up like Keith.
It's true. It's true.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to us ramble on here. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with community questions.
It will be a hard life. One without reward, without remorse, without regret. A path will be placed before you. The choice is yours alone. Do what you think you cannot do. It will be a hard life, but you will find out who you are.
All right, it's that time of the show for community questions.
It's all about the community, bro.
It's all about the community. You got to respect your community. We believe that. That's why we have this section. All right. Anonymous on Tumblr says, do you seriously think Vader is good in the no part of Revenge of the Sith?
All right, so I'm going to pick this up because I have to say that I think in episode 1, 2, and 3, the story itself and the way it was told and the motifs that it decided to pick up visually and in terms of music and certain different ways was pulling upon a lot of genres of the past that Star Wars has always done. The prequels, more than any of them, has actually done that, or during the other three, has actually done that more. And so I think that the story of Anakin Skywalker in some ways parallels the story of Dr. Frankenstein, where he kind of goes in there with the best of intents and loses his way along that path. And so is Darth Vader Frankenstein? Yes. And is he George Lucas referencing Frankenstein? Yeah, that's what he's doing. So I honestly, when I saw it, I didn't have a problem with it in the theater. When we saw it, people didn't laugh. People weren't laughing until it became a meme. And so, and it is a heavy-handed moment. It's supposed to be by design. So do I seriously think that it's good? Yeah, I do. Do I think that, did George Lucas think it was going to resonate with a 13-year-old? Probably not, but I don't think he cared. So, that's just the thing where he was sticking to his guns. He was going with that kind of classic Hollywood feel and moment, and that's what he went with. And so that's kind of what it is. What do you say?
I don't agree. I think it was a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
He just got like a super awesome robotic suit.
Yeah.
He should have said yes.
Yes?
Yes! I think that would have been like that would have set you up like I'm ready to watch the next 3 movies.
Right. Well, you know what it makes me think of though is you know how like when you're an arrogant teenager and you get like your first attractive like girlfriend and you're like I get that and you're like, well, if I got this in lockdown,
yeah, imagine
where are my limits?
Imagine what I could do
if I go from this scrawny little blonde kid to freaking Darth Vader. I'd be like, yes, I got Natalie Portman. Now, what is the ceiling? There isn't one.
There's still time, and I know like we have special editions, so it's possible. That what if like after that we do change it and he goes yes and then high fives Palpatine.
You know what? No, they high five. Lightning strikes off their hands, destroying the robots and the room.
Destroying the robots in the room and then creating the Death Star, finishing the Death Star right there. It finishes the Death Star.
No, how about this? It explodes. In the wall are some plans for the Death Star that they don't know. They don't know where it comes from. They don't know. Like, did Count Dooku have that on Geonosis and he hid it in that room? Nobody knows. Pretty big time stuff, though.
Oh, wow. Keith, what do you think, man? Do you think we're onto something?
I think this is going to be bigger than Ewoks blinking.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
On the internet, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yes. Keith, do you want to add anything to this?
I feel so bad. I feel so bad for Keith right now.
No, I'm going to go back to what you said, Jason. And I think that when we all take ourselves back to the first time we saw Revenge of the Sith, at the very end, the no happened. Nobody freaked out.
Right.
Nobody started to call suicide numbers and freak out. And no childhoods were raped as they were. At that moment, it was just part of the spectacle. You were accepting it. It was this massive ending, and you knew this was the ending at the time of the saga.
Yeah,
and you just accepted it. And I think people have taken this meme, have taken the meme of I want my original, 1977 Star Wars, and God help me, but I want it in Blu-ray, and I want it in 7.1, but nothing else. No changes. I think it's just a little over the top.
Well, I also want to say that it kind of the big thing that led to the whole thing being a meme in the first place was that original bootleg that I think was from China. And do you guys remember this? It had all the subtitles were really, really awful. So when he says no, it says "do not want," and that's where "do not want" comes from. And
that's a good.
The actual title of Revenge of the Sith on that bootleg translates in English to "Backstroke of the West," and I have a copy of it. I'll lend it to you guys. You guys are going to see it. That's what it's called, and it's hilarious. There's bad words in it because of it's so bad. So it was upon Backstroke of the West and this "do not want" meme that's spawned from it that that turned into something really bad, or something that was really negative. And contrary to certain internet people, I think now that it actually rhymes in Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin is watching his son be destroyed by the Emperor, and he's realizing that he's been duped by this man, and now he says no, and it's the same no for the most part, I think. And he picks him up. That's when he's had enough. I like that it inverts that, and the first no is a "what have I done" no. Then when he does it again, it's finally like, this is enough, and I'm putting an end to this now. And he's killing himself in the process, and that's what he does. So if you want to say it's bad, then I guess everyone has their right to their opinion. My honest opinion is that I like it, and I don't think we're going to get stuff like that anymore. I think George Lucas makes his own unique flavor. And I think that I kind of wouldn't be surprised if over time people start to miss that weirdness. It's weird. I totally say it. I accept that. It is weird.
Yeah, but I think it's important to point out that there is a unique style that is very much George Lucas.
Yeah.
I think no matter, we talk about who's going to be doing the movies, how it's going to end up turning out, but you always know a George Lucas movie when you watch it. It has a very unique presentation. His voice as a director is very unique.
And it's like, it would take a director, and not that you could even do it if you wanted to, but it would take a director from like George Lucas's generation and his year, who was exposed to the same media growing up, and media, all that kind of stuff, and then it would that made him make those choices.
Right.
And so I don't think we're ever going to see that again. I think that actually is being closed out with this. It'll be done on purpose. Maybe people will try, but I don't think it's going to feel like George Lucas ever again.
Right. All right, moving on to the next question. This is from Mark on the forums. Why can't there be Sith ghosts, and where does it say in the movies that only Jedi can be ghosts? It doesn't say that in the movies, I would say.
In the films themselves, I feel that Star Wars films are all about ambiguity. You have no idea why anything is the way it is. Lucas used to say, I liked Kurosawa films because I did not understand the culture that was going on. So in some ways, that alien kind of feeling he got from doing or from watching Kurosawa films is what he put into Star Wars, right? And so, in doing that, though, it actually transcends into these other parts. Like, are stormtroopers clones? Are they robots? Are they men? What are they? We didn't know for years. I mean, we had the Star Wars poster book, and that's where we got like some hint. But do we trust it? Do we trust the Star Wars poster book? I don't know. And now it turns out you could. So all you people from 1977 who bought the poster book, you're good. You can trust it.
You knew it the whole time.
Yeah, you knew. But you had the spoilers back then. You didn't even know it. But as far as it goes, no. So in the films, we don't know exactly how things work, but I do think that we have opposing themes. In that the Sith are about power and living in the now and getting things for them in the easy path, essentially. And the Jedi take a much more complicated path that is not as wrought with rewards, but they have this spiritual enlightenment, and that is essentially what probably leads to their Force ghosting.
Yeah, to like simplify, it's almost like it's like the consolation prize for being like a good Jedi.
Right. And what we touched upon last podcast was in that original script, there was that Lucas note for Return of the Jedi first draft that said if Anakin hadn't turned to the good side at the last moment and he had died, he would have lost his identity forever.
Right.
So that's almost a heaven-style reward in a way. But as we know, not all Jedi do it. So we have that Qui-Gon sequence in Revenge of the Sith that was cut, but you can see on the Blu-ray in animatic form. And that's where, he's kind of saying that I could commune with the Force, and I learned it from the Shaman of the Wills. And so that is essentially all that we have on that topic, except for maybe the Clone Wars. What should we add to this, Keith? I'm sure you have some thoughts.
What comes to my mind that we didn't bring up last podcast was, if you remember in the special features of one of the Clone Wars seasons, it was an amazing feature where you were able to get into the writing room.
Season 3, Mortis.
Yeah. It was Lucas explaining to everybody in that room, right, the nature of the Force.
Right.
How, you have two balancing sides, how you have the dark side, which is extremely carnal, and this is why he's always had, mechanized people, because they could never accept death. They could never move on. They never wanted to move on, right? And rather the Jedi embraced death, saw it as a part of life and a way of the Force. So I really think that kind of set up, at least to my point of view, this balance between, so the Sith are going to try and stay eternal in the carnal, and that's where they're going, that's what they're hoping for, and that's what they've been pursuing, again with Darth Plagueis. The Jedi, we don't know how Qui-Gon happened about it, maybe just saw it lying around, read the book, and, discovered it that way, in the afterlife.
Well,
or whatever.
And we do know that
he
has a different view of the living Force than the Jedi, essentially.
Right, so maybe he got that key, put it in the lock, and found that he could just walk through the doorway, and was like, oh my god, Obi-Wan, Yoda, you'll never guess what I can do.
No, actually, he was like, whoa! Anakin, no!
Yeah, I guess there's nothing to say. I mean, there can't be Sith ghosts. Everything I think that we've seen so far, I think it's kind of safe to say the way they handle the nature of it is that it just doesn't work like that. The Jedis are in tune to the Force in a way that allows them to live past the point of death.
And when we've seen it in the expanded universe, the Old Republic did Sith go like haunted places and stuff like that. So, who knows what they're going to do with in the future of Star Wars.
We've talked about like how possibly maybe the next movies will kind of deal more with the nature of the Sith, because it's never anything that's really touched on. It's always done in these really like or really simplistic ways, just its anger and its power struggles. It would be cool if we found out that the Sith, after they die, they're reincarnated as Jawas, and all those Jawas are actually Sith that have been reduced down to these little like helpless like little scavengers.
Kind of like Phantasm. You ever see that movie Phantasm? The people in the morgue are being shrunk down into these little creatures that look like Jawas.
I think that'd be great, like an army of Jawas.
Anything's possible, right?
Yeah. All right, moving on. Mark also asked, you're going to have to come up with some new terms. Middle generation is no longer applicable. Mark is referring to the first podcast when we were talking about where we came into Star Wars, and we were talking about the middle generation, like growing up with. We were referencing it to like growing up with the special editions, right?
Well, we were saying that me and Randy were born in '79, so we kind of had the original trilogy. We were still there. We were definitely there in the afterglow of it. And then we were 17, 16 when the special editions come out. And then when the prequels come out, we can't even drink yet. So it's like both sections of Star Wars were ours. And you'll hear the story told a lot that there's the original trilogy generation, and then there's the prequel generation, and that it's these two separate things. Well, a lot of us fall right smack dab in the middle of it. And Keith is quite a few years younger than us, so he's kind of coming at this all from a different place too, and where he comes in. And so I thought maybe this is a good opportunity, number one, for us to discuss that, and for Keith to tell us kind of how he came to Star Wars.
All right, well, let's have Keith start us off. Keith, tell us, kind of, since we haven't really introduced you on the podcast like formally, just kind of tell the audience, I guess, how you got into Star Wars and how you think you fit in terms of a generation.
So I was born in '88. So
all right, thank you, Keith. Let's move on.
Yep, thank you. Thank God. Okay.
So wait, so what you're saying is that you were too young to Hammer Time? Okay.
More or less, I would agree with that. Yeah. The first time I saw Star Wars, I walked into my Blockbuster, was looking at the videotape section.
When is this?
This is 95.
Okay.
95. Yeah. This is right before the VHSs came out. I saw the cover of Return of the Jedi. Thought it looked pretty cool. There was Slave Leia swinging over. I picked it up, saw it, loved it, and then naturally, of course, I went to Empire Strikes Back.
Sorry, I have to interrupt you right here. I just want to note that 8-year-old, or how old are you at this point?
7 or 8. Yeah. You'd be about 7 years old.
7 years old. 7-year-old Keith picked up the movie because Slave Leia was on the cover.
Why not?
That's kind of cooler than current Keith. Yeah. I kind of think that maybe we should go back in time and get little Keith for the podcast, because I kind of like the way he rolls. So, Keith, I apologize for interrupting you. It was on my mind.
I'm more than happy to have your apology. So, saw the 3. A few months later, walked into the Costco, and right in front of me was a massive crate of the special edition gold box Darth Vader Star Wars trilogy. I had to pick it up, convince my parents to. Watched it till they broke, and that's how I got into it. I was in 5th grade when Episode 1 came out, so I guess that would technically make me, as we were talking, the prequel generation.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Right, even though that I was collecting Power of the Force right on the red card as it was coming out, and I've been collecting ever since.
Right.
So for me, Star Wars was always, in my mind, you had Episode 4, 5, and 6, and then it was this revelation when I heard news from a friend that Episode 1 was being produced. So I feel like I'm in this bizarre place where I was in a place in my life where, unlike kids today, where it was just this is Star Wars. That's it. You have these 3 movies. That's all there will ever be. I saw a few of the Ewok live movies. Those kind of scared me. I didn't quite understand them.
Oh, they should have. They should have scared you. Stand down.
Right. So it was I view myself as a person who honestly got into Star Wars at kind of the perfect time. I'm able to see the side where people, see the original trilogy and, kind of go back to those days where that's all we kind of had.
Mm-hmm.
But I also am very happy that I never had to live more than probably about 5 years without knowing that more Star Wars was coming down the line.
Right, until Revenge of the Sith came out.
Well, even at that point, we had the Clone Wars. So
That's true.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. Every time I would look at the toy aisle, whenever it was before the prequels came out, I was just happy there were Star Wars toys. I was like, weren't these movies? Oh, didn't they come out a long time ago, right?
Right.
Why is there still Star Wars in this aisle when they can barely keep the new Batman movie, with Michael Keaton out? They can't keep that toy line out. How amazing that I could pick up a red card Stormtrooper or, a really buff Luke.
Yeah.
I thought that was very bizarre. And honestly, at that point, I really came up with kind of my philosophy of Star Wars, which is, I'm just happy it's out. I'm happy when I see kids at Toys R Us when I'm doing my toy runs, and they're talking about Obi-Wan, they're talking about lightsabers, and they're 6 or 7. Thank goodness, because that means really we never have to live in a world where we're just really weird people who like this really old movie and it's a clique and no one quite understands it.
That's
I get
how
to bring
it was in the 90s for me and Randy, to be honest with you.
Like,
I'm not saying it shows, but it shows.
what, you guys like Star Trek? No, Star Wars. What's the difference?
Yeah.
But I love that I have my daughter. Honestly, she's turning 5 now. When the movies come out, when the new trilogy comes out, she's going to be 7, which is perfect. It's that exact age when I first was able to see Star Wars. We watched the Clone Wars together. She is actively engaged in it, and it's really nice just to always kind of have it there.
Yeah, and my kid will only be like 2.5, so if he doesn't actually get his stuff together, then he's out.
It trips me out how easily kids, I'm talking about like 4 to like 10-year-olds, gravitate. It's like crack for kids. Like,
dude,
it's so easy for them to get into it. Not even watching the movies.
Yeah.
Just like the merchandise alone.
Mm-hmm.
No, like I said in the first podcast,
right.
I was probably about 2.5 when I saw that AT-AT driver,
Mm-hmm.
and then got hooked on it.
Right.
I was really, really young. And I had really, really young parents. My parents had me at a really young age. So I was going to the movies and watching stuff all the time that I shouldn't even have been watching. But I was able to embrace it super, super young, Jedi came out in 83, so you and I were barely 4 years old. I wasn't 4 yet. You were just 4
yeah.
when Jedi came out, and we were into it. It was ready. We were ready for it, And so and I would also say that when it comes to these generations, I don't think that like things work on a direct timeline. Like how do you define these? Like original trilogy, then prequel trilogy, and then the Clone Wars kids, and then now I guess there might be Star Wars Rebels kids, but those will be the Star Wars Episode 7 kids too. And it's real hard. It's I don't know if we could actually even say it because
it's just a means to have like an easy digestible kind of way of classifying people, but it's so personal and it's so subjective to what your experience was. Just because you were born and you saw the first movie or you were alive when the first movie came out doesn't mean you necessarily were a fan all the time. I mean, it's different. We were around a time when there wasn't there and we were all about it.
Right. Yeah. And that's why today because we came from that era where there wasn't enough Star Wars at one point, where I'm just all about more Star Wars. I don't care if it ends up being bad. I'll just discard it and move on to the next good stuff, like I did with some of the Ewoks and some of the droid stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's just what you have to do.
Gosh, I remember those droids figures. Yeah, those droids figures. Like next to all those really nice figures. It's like big deal.
You know what is actually so weird is that the Ewok stuff was so much better than the droid stuff. I still can't ever get over that fact. I mean, the show was better.
Mm-hmm.
The toys were still kind of dopey, but they were still a lot better. It was just really, really weird.
All right, so let's move on to our last question of the show. This is a good one. What is your favorite Star Wars sequence? Let's start off with Keith.
You would pick me. I have to say, it either has to be. I'm stuck between two, and both of them deal with Obi-Wan. It's either the Obi-Wan at his homestead on Tatooine when he just drops all this information on Luke. He's picking up a lightsaber, and you're just trying to figure out what is going on here. And you know that there's so much history and wisdom, and he's just explaining everything. And all of a sudden, you go from this moment of not knowing really anything about the Star Wars universe to just being fully informed about what is happening, who's doing what, and motivations, light side, dark side, the whole fun, the whole thing. That's really only tied with the Darth Maul Obi-Wan battle. I can't say how many times I watched that over and over again, trying to copy it with friends.
So, you weren't the Star Wars kid, were you?
No, thank God, no. No, me and my friends, we were way overzealous. We were breaking plastic lightsabers left and right, trying to beat each other senseless.
And this guy came from a time where you could buy plastic lightsabers. We did not have that.
We had some inflatable ones and lots of knockoff ones.
We had a lot of lead pipes dressed as Star Wars lightsabers.
Yeah, me and Randy actually, I think, scared people in our neighborhood by fighting with PVC pipes and stupid crap like that.
You can make a lightsaber at Home Depot if you really want to.
So to jump in, I think that my favorite actual sequence is probably the sequence in Revenge of the Sith where Padme kind of knows that Anakin's probably about to do a bad thing. Anakin's up in the room, and I think he might be crying, but it's silent, and she's in her tower, and he's in in her room, and it's just kind of like moving back and forth, and there's that whole ominous kind of noise playing, that music playing in the background, and everything's about to hit. And I don't know if I can call Order 66 part of that, if that's part of Order 66. But if Keith got 2, I'm going to sandwich it into it.
I'm taking 2 now as well.
And I'm going to cheat. And I'm going to say that it actually is Order 66. I love that it's just so much happens in such a subtle way. It shows you what's going on, but it mostly implies a lot. So there's a lot that you can actually take away from it without actually it doing it all. When I look at that sequence, I imagine it happening in 1,000 different places as I'm watching that sequence, to all of the rest of the Jedi and just what the expanded universe has done with it. But, there's just so much there. And, Lucas did that sequence in The Godfather where Michael is having his kid baptized and everybody's getting killed. And he edited that section, and it's in very some ways the same kind of idea. And I just that's my favorite part.
Nice. For me, 2 scenes. I was thinking originally I had one in my head, but then I realized there's another scene I like really well, and I think it's they're considerably different. First, obviously, the Empire Strikes Back scene where Luke is looking for Vader after he's fell off the side of the
when he gets blown out.
Yeah, when he gets blown out. When he's looking for him, there's the scene when Vader finally finds him, and the camera shot just happens from behind Luke, and the way they shoot it is so genius because they shoot it in a way that makes Vader look menacingly large. And you kind of get it from the perspective of Luke as he's going against him, being pulled back by Vader. It's one of the coolest shots, and just from a cinematography standpoint, I think it's just one of the coolest looking things.
Oh, and just to jump in, when we when we first got the VHS tapes, we used to watch that bit where Luke is kind of walking down the corridor, and the camera kind of pans, so you kind of the corridor kind of opens up a little bit,
right.
And then Vader just jumps out and swings at him really quickly. Yeah, that right there. We watched that. Me and Randy watched that over and over when we got that VHS.
Such a cool scene. Then the second one, believe it or not, it's from the Phantom Menace. I really, really love the scene where Jar Jar is talking to Amidala on her balcony. It's a very somber scene. It's a late night, and he's asking if everyone's going to die. She's saying, I hope not.
Right.
There's something about that scene that just is so subtle, and to me, it always gets me. It catches my eye every single time I see it.
That's from the first day of shooting, actually.
Really?
Yeah. That and the revenge sequence, the little revenge line. That stuff was all filmed on that first day.
Yeah, so that's me.
All right. Yeah, I had a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, it was a good show. Thank you everyone for listening. We're on every. We're kind of trying to get our schedules kind of set, but we're trying to record on Tuesdays and have them released on Wednesdays. If you have a question for us, you can call 714
900 Ewok.
900 Ewok, and we'll read your questions on the air. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Randy Lo Gudice of 1985M, the 1985 FM, the video gaming podcast.
I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net.
And Keith Koth
from MakingStarWars.net, a contributor.
Surprise, he quit.
He quit. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.